Ardrossan Harbour Station was opened in 1987. It serves the passengers using the Kilmarnock ferry route to Arran. There was a station here since about 1840. In 1924, the station was renamed Winton Pier to distinguish it from the nearby Montgomery Pier. But by 1987, both of those stations had been closed. Ardrossan Town, originally Ardrossan, is one of Ayrshire's oldest railway stations, having been opened in 1831 by the Ardrossan Railway, at which time the gauge was 4'6", known as Scotch gauge. Once a large and busy station, it had a large goods shed as well as substantial station buildings with ticket office, waiting rooms and so on. There's a level crossing here, the line to the harbour having been built in 1840. It closed in 1968, but was reopened upon electrification in 1987. It carried about 22,000 passengers prior to COVID. Ardrossan South Beach lies on the line to Largs. It was reduced to a single platform in 1987, and in normal years carries about 220,000 passengers. Auchinleck lies on the Glasgow South Western Line, was opened in 1848, only to close in 1965. However, it was reopened in 1984, and pre-COVID carried about 70,000 passengers a year. Ayr has had several stations in the past. The present one opened in 1886, and in normal years carries about 1.5 million passengers. It has routes going down to Stranraer, to Glasgow, and a few to Kilmarnock via the old Burns line. Barrhill Station stands on the Ayr coastline. In normal years, it carries about 170,000 passengers. In 1969, the platform for the Kilmarnock and Troon line was closed and was not reopened in 1975, when that line once again carried passenger traffic to Kilmarnock. Barrhill stands on the Stranraer line and opened in 1877. Has a rather quaint signal box, which originally came from Port Patrick. In normal years, it carries about 10,000 passengers. It has a passing loop on this otherwise single-track route. Dalry Station on the Ayr coastline opened in 1840. In 1905, with the opening of the Lochwinnock Loop line, it was increased in size to 4 platforms. But in the 1960s, that line closed, as did the line to Kilmarnock. So in the 1980s, it was reduced in size to 2 platforms. Dunaskin Station is on a preserved railway, the Doon Valley Railway, which moved to this site in 2002 and built the station. The line runs for about 1 mile, heading up towards Downmellington and the Chalmston open cast coal site. It only ever carried coal originally. It has a fireless locomotive which originally came from Ardrossan. Dunlop Station stands on the Glasgow South Western route. It was originally opened in 1871. However, it closed in 1966, but only briefly, reopening as an unstaffed halt in 1967 when the track had been singled. However, in 2008, the line as a virtual loop was redoubled. It has now a train frequency of once every half hour and carries around 100,000 passengers a year in normal years. Fairlie lies on the single-track Ayr coastline running to Largs. It was opened by the Glasgow and South Western Railway in 1880. It normally sees around 40,000 passengers a year. There's the remains of an old siding here, for up until the 1990s, the Flask train for Hunterston A nuclear power station used to terminate here. Girvan Station, once known as Girvan New, opened in 1877 and it lies on the Ayr to Stranraer route. It has a passing loop, 2 platforms, and also an operational signal box. In 1946 it was destroyed by fire, and it wasn't until 1951 until a new station was built. It usually sees around 120,000 passengers a year. The original old Girvan stood nearby and became a goods station. Glengarnock station stands on the Ayr coastline. It was opened as Glengarnock and Kilmarnock by the Glasgow, Paisley, Kilmarnock and Ayr Railway. However, in 1905, the Lochwinnock loop line was opened and Kilmarnock had a separate station. The track here is double and electrified. The station normally sees around 400,000 passenger journeys a year. Irvine stands on the Ayr coastline. It was opened in 1839 by the Glasgow, Paisley, Kilmarnock and Ayr Railway. Much of the station buildings survive, although it has been refurbished with a glass frontage. Originally there was a line also running from here via Cross House to Kilmarnock, but that closed in 1965. Normal passenger movements are about 900,000 a year. At one time there was quite a bit of freight traffic running through to the harbour and to nearby factories.